I was a judge that night, I think. Go ahead and start the Facebook live stream. And I'm like, wow, how have I not heard him before? Your songs are really well crafted.
Thank you.
It is clear that you put a lot of thought into the lyrics, or at least I'm going to argue you do. So if you don't, please don't tell me.
I do. And that's what makes it fun. So to be honest.
Well, I mean, and I think you marry the music well with the lyrics and the sensibility that you're trying to create. I don't know if you think of yourself as a storyteller, but clearly your lyrics the songs have a narrative to them.
A lot of ballads, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, which is no, please don't see me as being judgmental. I just think that's some of the characteristics I see when I listen to your music.
I'm not taking anything you say personally.
Oh, lovely. And then, with me, that would get you far.
The funny thing about this song, this woman, Andrea, just sent me a message today, and I told her I was going to be on the air. I don't know if she's going to be listening or not, but
oh, could happen.
She'll be very pleased to know that it's
her song played.
Her song is playing.
So I should say Andrea, not Andrea, Andrea. And then, how do you pronounce your last name? Is it Heider?
H-I-D-E, Heider, yeah, as in clean.
Oh, okay, I can remember that. So a little less than a minute. There is a cough button which does mute the mic. It mutes yours, it doesn't mute mine. But it's also not a problem. If there's anything like that, I will cut that out of the file before I send it to you. Just so that it's as clean a file as possible for however you want to use it. There's no proprietary on my end information at all, or the university or the radio station's concerned. Anything we create here is yours to use in any way you like.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, mics are hot. Chris Heider here on your Tuesday afternoon alternative with Andrea's Fault. Chris Heider is my second guest for today, here for your Tuesday afternoon alternative every Tuesday, 3 to 6 p.m. on WUDR Dayton. Rockin' the Gem City, music in all directions. Support your local music scene. Chris, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, Art. It's a thrill.
It's a real pleasure to have you. I saw you at the Dayton Battle of the Bands contest.
Yes.
And I was just blown away. How do I not know about this guy? Really well-written songs. The music connects really well to the story that you're telling.
Thank you.
So how long have you been making music?
I started playing guitar when I was 10 years old. And then I started playing 8th grade at church. And that was more for popularity, I think, than anything. And then I carried it over into high school, and after that, people that I graduated with, classmates of mine, they asked me to play at their weddings, and then that kind of snowballed where I was doing weddings every weekend. And
oh dear.
So then, after I married and had my 3 kids, I continued to play my guitar, but had a little bit of a fun event out in New England. My son got me into an open mic on a radio program. Ultimately, it was called the Folk Revival. I didn't realize it, but it was at the Newport Folk Festival.
Oh my.
And I played a song I wrote called Cocaine Crazy, and it was really just about the 60s. And well, long story short, this guy yelled out to me after we were done, and you recorded that? And I said, no. He said, well, get a recording, send it to me, and I'll play it on my station. So that was really got me going and got me thinking, well, maybe I can do this. And so there you go, a little bit of background.
Well, and how long have you been playing out in the Dayton area?
Probably for the last 7, 8 years. And I started off just doing open mics, and then I became an open mic host at Applebee's in Bellbrook.
Oh yeah. And
then I ended up taking on 2 more at Submarine House on 725 and at Game Day way out in Waynesville. And was doing 3 a week and just having a blast, and all my friends are musicians, and that's how we kind of came into be. Play at the flea markets, wherever they'll have me play, I'll play.
Well, and you, should we call this the not day job or the evening job? Your day job was as a history professor?
I was a history teacher. You
History
can call me
teacher?
professor if you want, but I was not.
I would like to do that.
I taught for 32 years, and then I retired, and this kind of became my occupation, and now it's kind of a fun thing I do, and so yeah.
Well, I'm really curious about your approach to songwriting. How do you craft a song? How do you create a song?
It depends upon how I'm inspired, what inspires it. And so one of the first songs I wrote, Just Passing Through, which is part of my one-man band act, I don't know, it just was a difficult time in my life back in 2015, and it just kind of came out of me. And it just, I think it's kind of an inspirational tune, and I really do believe it just kind of came from God, and I'll take it from there. So
that song flowed through you.
Just kind of, yeah, it just kind of came out of me. So.
And do you find that music, or your music in particular, is therapeutic? Does it help you, like you talk about dealing with the challenges you were facing in 2015? Does your music help kind of soothe the soul?
Without question. I mean, it's given me an opportunity to learn how to record it myself, and so I've made a lot of recordings myself. Some are very rank amateurish, but others I think they're getting better. My nephew Kevin Heider is also he's an outstanding singer-songwriter, plays all over the country. He taught me how to use some software, and so over the time I've gotten a little bit better at it and enjoy it a lot. And so, especially during COVID, I'm telling you, it was a difficult time, period. But I think I wrote 7 or 8 songs during that time period. So. Well,
and the ability to record on your own is especially advantageous during COVID.
Absolutely, yeah, because there's just no really way to do it any other way, and so just go into my little spare bedroom and.
Has that become the studio now?
That's my studio, yeah, for better or for worse.
Well, but I also think that there's something wonderful about taking the opportunity to try to find some positive in what's obviously a really, really awful situation, and create something wonderful out of that experience.
Yeah, it's been a blessing for me in many ways. It was something to keep my mind occupied, and whenever I could, if it was daytime, summertime, I was out of the house. I would go over to a park and play by myself, and but yeah, so.
Well, if you do that, you probably get a crowd going.
I do. Well, actually, not really. And people walking by, but I don't even know if they hear me. So.
Well, shoot, these days with all the earbuds and things in people's ears.
That's right.
I'm always saying excuse me as I'm walking down the hallway, and I realize later they didn't hear me. But I felt the need to say it nonetheless.
You got it.
But I'm envisioning, this sounds like probably a bad comedy sketch. You're playing out in the park, and suddenly a big crowd comes up, and then an officer's like, "Do you have a permit for this concert?" Well, no, officer, I'm just playing.
Right. Well, if I'd had a speaker and stuff like that set up, maybe I would have, but I didn't. So.
Fair point.
Yeah.
I'm also curious about your approach to writing a song. What comes to you first? Do the lyrics come first, or does the music come first?
Sometimes it's a chord progression that's first.
Mm-hmm.
Other times, like with this song, Andrea's Fault, it was a woman I met on a plane, and everything in that song is something that we discussed on a plane trip from Charlotte to Boston, and so obviously I had a crush on this woman, and there's so many female-inspired tunes that I've written, but she was a very special person, and the funny thing was, we got the baggage claim, as it says in the song, and her bag came, but mine did not. And I told her I was a singer-songwriter, and I said, I might compose a song out of this. And so while I'm waiting for my bag on the next plane, I sat down and wrote down everything I could remember, and boom, came up with a song. So.
See, that's brilliant. That you took that moment and in a way you immortalized it in a song.
Yeah, I've got all the sheets of paper that I would write things on and scribble them off and go to the next sheet, and so yeah, I keep track of all that stuff.
Well, when you become famous, then you can sell. No, now I'm just being mean.
Well, hey, If I ever do, that would be awesome.
So make sure you hang on to those.
I do. I've got them all.
If you're just joining us, this is your Tuesday afternoon alternative on WUDR Dayton. We're rocking the Gem City, music in all directions. Support your local music scene. I'm here with Chris Heider. We're talking about his music. And I'm also curious, Chris, if your music, does it tend to be autobiographical, or is that just the way certain songs develop?
A lot of songs have to do with personal experience, absolutely. Discussions I've had with people that turned into songs, advice that I got from people that turned into songs, things that I wish I had not said that turned into songs. Or done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of, that's kind of the way it works. And then once it kind of starts, it just, I love playing with words. I love messing with rhymes. I'm on my computer. I'm looking up what rhymes with this, what rhymes with that, and it's just fun.
So it's almost like it's a puzzle for you, like a logical puzzle to figure out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, and I think that's really interesting. So all the things you could do, you know, endless TV or streaming or whatever,
Right.
but you find a way to kind of use the inspiration from your everyday life
Right.
and turn that into music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you find that that is consistent with other musicians that you play with, or do you find that your approach is unique when you have conversations with other musicians?
I think it's very similar, in fact. I think a lot of times it starts with a chord progression that you like, and then if you were thinking about something in particular that warms your heart, or that moved you, or that you were sad about, and I used to get a lot of flack for writing a lot of sad songs, but I think there are a lot of sad songs that are very therapeutic.
Agreed.
But you know, that's just, that's kind of the way it works for me.
Well, and writing about that, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, singing about those subjects or that sadness is a way of dealing with it, right?
Yeah.
Healing with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no question. Yeah. And I confess that I do listen to my own stuff because I'm always thinking, well, what could I add here? What could be added? What would be good there? You know, the drums, the bass, whatever. And I can't do any of those things. I just play rhythm guitar, so it's a matter of piecing things together however I can.
Is it hard to listen to yourself?
When I get a good recording, not necessarily. No.
So the answer to that question is dependent on the quality of the recording.
That's right. You know, the more you add little special effects to things, you know, a lot of times reverb will take care of a lot of issues. I've learned how to limit things and other things that you can add compression, but it does have a way of disguising little flaws in your voice. So.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And do you have difficulty listening to yourself? Like just say the raw vocal. Is that a challenge? I mean, because I occasionally listen to past programs or other things that I do, and I'm like, oh, that guy is awful.
Yeah, well, you know, I record the guitar part, which usually I record to a drum track so I can keep a beat, and then once I get the guitar part, if I can do it straight without screwing it up, then I go to the words, and I sing into a condenser mic and got the earphones on, and I'm listening to my music in the background, and then you got to piece it all together.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
Well, let's play another song of yours, "Not Your Guy."
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about that song before we play it? Because I wonder if we all kind of know by the title what's it about.
Well, here's the thing. You know, I confess I'm on a dating site, and I've met some really wonderful people, and I'm currently conversing with one that I like very much. There was another one that I had been conversing with, and she was a little bit further away from me. She was down in Louisville, Kentucky, and when I corresponded with her, I basically said, look, I'm not your guy, but I told her, I said, don't you ever dare settle for anything less than what you deserve. And that's how the song kind of came out of it. So it's not really a love song so much to anybody, it's just kind of what came out. So
here it is.
Here we go.
By Chris Heider, "Not Your Guy," from his record, "Just Passing Through." You're doing great.
Thank you, man. That's awesome. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you for coming in. I mean, that's, all these years we've really tried to focus on local music and local musicians.
Yeah.
I have had young ladies sitting where, where you're sitting here, 3 young ladies who were 14 and had a band.
Yeah.
And had songs out, they didn't have a record contract, but they had songs available out online. And I've had a couple musicians in their 80s in here, and all different kinds of genres.
I've met some incredible performers at open mic, and I'm thinking, God, he can play the guitar behind his head. He can do all these things, you know, it's amazing.
Well, then, and our area in particular, right, is really, really fortunate or blessed because of all the great musicians that we have in the area.
Yeah.
And I would jokingly say there must be something in the water, but whether it's spiritual or whether it's just the history of music in the city, right? Because musicians have been performing in Dayton going back to the 1930s. You know, the old barn tours and things like that.
Right.
Country music, or country and western as it used to be called, and things like that. I mean, Elvis Presley played here, but so did Hank Williams. Right? A lot of funk came out of this area too, right? So, and everything in between.
That's right. This is the capital of the funk world.
I believe it. I believe that's true. Or at least that's certainly the argument that I make. And in many ways, like the indie or alternative or electronic or whatever kind of music, right? There's a lot of great Americana and country music right now in our area, right? But they're in many ways indebted to the past musicians and performers who laid that foundation or that infrastructure.
Yeah, no question.
But it is a lovely community to be a part of, and the musicians are. There may be healthy rivalries, but they're healthy.
Yeah. Well, the Battle of the Bands was just a fun experience, and I want to give a shout out to Libby. So
and they
bring that up.
Libby does lots of great events, and that's certainly one of them.
That's one of them.
And I mean, I think the Bright Side is a great venue. They do great work.
Outstanding.
We're really fortunate in this town, again, also because of the great venues to play in, right? Whether it's restaurants that are really opening for musicians or welcoming for musicians would be the better term.
There's a lot of competition. I mean, I called today about the flea markets, and I played so much at Caesar's Creek, and she filled her whole calendar for the whole year already.
Oh, already?
So,
oh dear, it's not even gotten warm yet.
Well, it's an opportunity for other people. Maybe they're just pushing me aside, but that's fine. Yeah.
Well, my guess is just that there's just so many performers.
There's a ton of people. Yeah.
Oh, pardon me, excuse me. And there's so many good performers too.
Yeah. Here we go. A ton of them. Unbelievable, really.
Mics are hot. Chris Heider here on your Tuesday afternoon alternative on WUDR. So, Chris, there's almost a sing-song quality to that.
Yeah. That was, I had fun writing that. To be honest with you, I based it on the photos and things that we had spoken to one another via text, and just kind of, I just love playing with words and messing around with it, and that's kind of the way it works for me.
Well, and it just feels authentic. It feels real.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't really try to model it after anybody else's stuff. I've listened to a lot of other people's music, but what comes out of me is what comes out of me, and I figure, well, if I get famous because of it, great. If not, it's fine. It's fun. It's just a great thing to do. Keep myself occupied, keep my brain occupied too, so.
Oh, absolutely. So you mentioned earlier you played the guitar since you were a young boy.
Right, yeah.
Did you ever take any formal lessons or anything like that?
You know, I did. My mom used to drive me and my brother down to Howard Music on First Street, and I took lessons with a session guitar player at WLW. His name was Chick Gatwood. Incredible guitar player, and my brother and I started together, and my brother decided to back out, and I can remember, well, my mom told me this later, but Chick had said basically, well, he's a little bit better than this other guy you got here. So, but it turned out, worked out okay for me. So, but he was an outstanding guitarist, and so.
Well, do you